Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack. Back again to bring you Mythic Immonar, the Soulhunter. Everything you need to know about getting this boss down on Mythic from a healer's point of view. For this fight, we did have 6 healers, as you see on your screen right now. I don't necessarily agree with the idea of having 6 healers on this. I didn't particularly like it. And I found that in many ways it was just kind of an overkill. But at the same time, officers wanted to have the Shadow Priest go holy. So, first platform here, again, you're going to be going back and forth from 2 different platforms. First platform that we're going to be on, you're going to be dealing with sleep canisters and the empowered pulse grenades. These pulse grenades are going to be knocking people around if you're in range of them. So it's very, very scary if you're crossing the bridge, for example, and you knock somebody off the bridge, or you knock somebody into a mine and the mine explodes and knocks other people around. And it can really just lead to catastrophic results in general. So going through this, I kind of just had the approach of making sure that I had mass atonements out through my evangelisms. Most of my healing was going to come through an evangelism and Velen's window. And through that, I was making sure that I was getting as much healing out, much damage into the boss as possible in those windows of time. Now, for this first bridge crossing, I'm making sure I'm keeping my powered shield on cooldown, or sorry, I'm making sure I'm keeping my dispels on cooldown as much as I can on the tank, while I'm spamming powered shield as much as possible on the raid with Rapture. The healing that I'm going to be able to do on this is not great, so we're having, for example, our revival going off, and we're having Paladin's Aura Mastery going off over this period. So at this point, it's imperative to make sure that you're just constantly dispelling the tank so they can keep on clearing those small mines so that everybody else can kind of make their way through. It's also extremely important to make sure you're trying to drop any kind of shielding or any kind of healing that you can, even if it's like a direct penance, which feels pretty bad, on the people behind you who have the empowered pulse grenades, because they might just be away from most healers for very long periods of time, and they will be taking the most time to cross the bridge, period. For the second platform, you're going to be dealing with Charge Blast, which is, again, the small mini spaceships that are going to be just targeting a player, knocking them back, and then giving them a dot. For this one, you want to make sure that the lines are basically parallel to each other. So we're having, for example, one person on the path to Kingaroth's room, and then one person who's at the foot of basically the bridge. Making sure they're going off, like I said, in more of a parallel function, as you're seeing right there on your screen, while we're all stacked up as a group, and we're running away from any of the shrapnels that are going to be just hitting the entire raid. So shrapnels will go off pretty frequently. Make sure you just have all your healing up and ready. Especially if you're a more immobile healer, these are the kind of phases where you'll really be doing most of the healing. And the more mobile healer, and the ones who are more mobile will be doing more the lion's share of healing as you're crossing the bridge there. Very, very important to kind of keep in mind. So the second bridge crossing, getting everybody stacked up after the Charge Blast, dropping Barrier, dropping Spirit Link Totem, and popping all kinds of big CDs here. We're also having our Holy Priest Divine Hymn. That way we're having very, very strong coverage, because all of these tripwires going off is dealing just tons and tons of damage. And we actually ran a little bit early there, so what ended up happening is we popped more tripwires after our barrier had kind of faded, so people were dropping really low. But that's why we also have Tranquility right afterwards, so that way as we're crossing the bridge, we're able to get healed up through CDs, through mobile healing, and making sure we're able to get back into position. I can stand still, and we can just start healing again. For this platform, we're dealing with sleep canisters, and we are dealing with the shrapnel blasts. So again, same thing with sleep canisters as always, making sure that you're getting them out of the group. Everyone's spreading out. We just had a range 10 radar that we're able to make absolutely sure that everyone is going to be as spread out as possible. And again, for me, from my perspective, I'm making sure that I'm getting very large evangelisms whenever possible. Absolutely over 15 whenever you can. And then I'm kind of waiting for any of those big shrapnel blasts so I can be launching out my penances, getting the whole raid topped off before we're going to be making another bridge crossing. It's actually extremely great for disc that you're able to get really big healing out just before a bridge crossing, because oftentimes you'll kind of jump away at very inopportune times where you still want to be hitting the boss, but he's also jumping away from you. So making sure that you're getting, large atonements out beforehand. You can still actually hit him, you can still redot him and stuff like that for quite a while as he kind of jumps up and starts floating away. So you actually do have a pretty good window of time to get that rolling there. Again, next bridge crossing, I got Rapture at the ready, taking advantage of it. And for this one, we're pretty much able to run around all the tripwires, so it's not too big of a deal for us. A lot of it's just making sure that we're running through any of these fields, we're getting the tanks dispelled, and we're making sure we're just kind of hugging the wall as the tanks are clearing out a lot of space for us. Very important thing here is if you're ever hit by any like the green or the red balls, you will just get slowed by a huge amount. So it's not necessarily that getting hit by those balls will kill you directly. It's just that they will slow you down to such an extent that you're going to be liable to be holding up the group. Group takes a lot more damage, you're expending more healer mana, and you get into some big issues there. For this fourth platform, The idea is we want to have everybody stacked up, that way they can run the canisters out, but as you're seeing right here, we kind of had a big issue there. About half the group getting slept because we had 2 canisters that were not run out at the same time. You still are dealing with the charge blast, and as you're seeing here, this one is nearby, and I'm making sure it's not drawing any big diagonal lines or anything like that. Trying to keep it parallel whenever possible with the other mine, which is going to be on the Kingaroth's room, as you're seeing as I'm moving my camera there. As we're getting to this point, I'm getting back into the group with my dot, and we're getting as much healing out right before he's going to be making the last bridge transition. And again, this is the strong suit for Disco, that you're able to get out very strong healing while you're on the platform. And then as everyone gets stacked up, you want to make sure everyone's as topped off as possible before all the tripwires start going off. So you want to make sure people's effective HP is going to be as high as possible, because barrier, Spirit Link Totem, all that stuff's going to be going down. All that stuff you have to be dealing with there. So it's the positioning of everybody else around you that you have to take into account. And it's also making sure that you're following any of the mechanics like the Charge Blast and not splashing onto other people. So again, getting barrier down, getting Spirit Link down, having Divine Hymn going off there, and making sure everyone's staying in it for the entire duration. I even direct penance there because we had a Spirit Link down, and we wanted to make sure that we were keeping people topped off, and it was something that I was not going to be able to use for quite a while anyway. So at this point, our Demon Hunter cleared out everything. He popped tons and tons of tripwires. Barrier there is just mitigating millions and millions of damage on the entire group. That way, while it doesn't look like it's huge damage there, it actually was gigantic when you're popping, 5, 6, or 7 tripwires in a span of a couple seconds there, right? So it's very, very important to deal with here. And then this last platform, you're going to be dealing with the Empowered Pulse Grenades. You're going to be dealing with the Sleep Canisters. You've got all the different mechanics that you have to be watching out for. And again, it's following it. If you get to this platform at this point, it's just a attrition game of making sure you're keeping your tanks topped off and making sure you're able to kind of rotate through any CDs. We even have our Ankh Totem at the very, very end that we are able to deploy to try to reduce a little bit of the damage that they're taking, or to be able to get them up just in case. We had a couple 2%, 3% wipes just from having so few people actually making it to this last platform, getting hit by bombs, or having people with Empowered Pulse Grenades, tossing them off the sides at certain points in the fight. All kinds of little things that can really start chipping away at your group, and that causes, healer mana to rapidly decline, having, the ability to keep keeping the tanks topped off, or tanks are running out of cooldowns at certain points. All those little things just start chipping away people in your raid group, and that's where most of your wipes are really going to be coming from here. Following this advice, hopefully it'll help in getting it down for you guys and getting this boss kill. It was actually a very challenging boss, and it really made you, while it was annoying, and I felt really annoyed when I was doing the boss at first, I also kind of appreciate that it's much, much different, and you have to flex different muscles as a healer in order to actually get it down. Healing on the move is not really our strong suit, but it was a good challenge. Let me know what you guys think. The logs and all the information on my UI and everything like that you can find in the description below, as well as a link to the Twitch stream where we're going to be streaming all of our Mythic progression, and we're streaming 7 days a week. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll catch y'all tomorrow.